15 years. That's how long we were married. 15 years of shared bills, burnt toast, and bedtime stories. Of mortgage payments and road trips and arguments about thermostat settings. Of life. Real life. The kind you build, brick by brick, not the kind that sparkles in anniversary posts or gets clapped for on social media. No, ours was steady, built on shared ambition, grit, and what I thought was loyalty. I met her at work. Back then, we were both just grunts in the marketing department of a mid-sized tech firm. I handled analytics, she ran campaigns. We weren't flashy, not the loud ones at meetings, not the after-hours drinkers. We were both the stay late, outwork everyone else kind. The quiet climb the ladder types. She was sharp. Smarter than me, if I'm honest. And she had this calm confidence that didn't try to prove anything, just was. I like that. We started dating during a brutal product launch. Late nights turned into shared dinners, strategy meetings into inside jokes, and one day I realized I was planning vacations in my head with a woman I'd only known for 3 months. A year later, we were married. Bought a modest 2-story outside of Denver with a maple tree in the front yard and neighbors who waved every morning like it was still 1957. A few years after that, we had a daughter, Ella. Bright, curious, all knees and questions. The kind of kid who could make a grocery trip feel like an adventure. Our life worked. We worked. We climbed. I took a promotion in data infrastructure. She moved to a more creative firm. Money got better, house got bigger, and for a long time, I thought we were the lucky ones. Sure, we weren't posting love poems or matching outfits, but we were solid. We were building something real. But if you've ever watched a house rot from the inside, you'll know, decay doesn't start with a crash. It starts with a draft you don't notice. A creak in the floor you ignore. At first, it was just more hours. Her job got demanding, I understood. She started getting home later. Said the new boss, Richard Vaughn, was aggressive with deadlines. Total perfectionist, she told me once, pouring a glass of wine. Wants everything his way. I nodded. Didn't think much of it. Then it was the phone calls, late at night, quiet, always ending with, I'll check that first thing in the morning. She said it was account management stuff. We're landing a big healthcare client, she said. Huge opportunity. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Why wouldn't I? She started dressing sharper. Not provocatively, just deliberately. The perfume she used to save for dinners out became a daily thing. Our conversations at night got shorter. I chalked it up to stress, deadlines, maybe a rough patch. Everyone hits those, right? Still, I held on to hope. Because you don't just abandon a 15-year investment the second it starts showing wear. You fix it. You patch what you can. You keep going. But then something started bothering me. Not a hunch, not a jealousy thing. Just a pattern I couldn't unsee. Whenever I dropped by her office, usually to bring her lunch or say hi, she was never at her desk. Her assistant always gave the same tight smile and said, she's in a meeting with Richard. Always Richard. One afternoon, I waited outside the office longer than usual. Figured I'd surprise her, maybe take her out, like we used to. But as I sat on that faux leather bench across from the glass door, I noticed something. She laughed. The kind of laugh you save for someone who's earned it. And she was doing it inside Richard Vaughn's office. Again, that was the first moment, not a discovery, not yet, but a shift. A knot in my stomach I couldn't untie. I didn't accuse her, didn't barge in. I just sat there, watching the shadows on the frosted glass, waiting to see if that laugh was still meant for me. It was a Thursday night. Nothing special about it. The kind of evening where most people are half watching the clock, itching to get home, slipping out early and calling it remote work. I stayed late that day. There was a minor emergency with a city pipeline survey. I'm in civil infrastructure, so stuff like that isn't glamorous, but it matters. It keeps the water running and the roads dry. It also gave me a reason to be at the office well past 7. Her building was 2 blocks from mine. On the walk back to my car, I figured, maybe I'll surprise her. Pick her up. Grab takeout on the way home. Do something spontaneous for once. I hadn't done that in a while. I didn't text her. Didn't call. Just walked up to Meridian Advertising's glass doors and buzzed myself in with the old guest code she gave me back when she still wanted me dropping by. The place was mostly dark, empty, just the cleaning crew and a few flickers from screens left running. Her office sat at the far end of the top floor, corner suite now. She'd earned that. I never took that from her. She worked hard. Pushed harder. But when I rounded the corner, just past the glass-walled conference room, I stopped. I stopped walking. I stopped breathing. There she was, in his lap. Not metaphorically. Literally. Draped across Richard Vaughn's legs like some after-hours bonus perk. Her head tilted back, laughing. His hand on her hip like he owned stock in her skin. They hadn't seen me. The lights outside the office were dim enough, and maybe I should have turned around the second I saw it. But I didn't. I watched. For 10 seconds, maybe more. Just long enough to know this wasn't the first time. You can tell by how people touch. First times are tentative. This was routine. Comfortable. Practiced. I didn't make a sound. Didn't knock. Didn't storm in. I left. I walked down the hallway, past the elevator, and took the stairs. I remember the sound of my shoes on the concrete steps. It was the only sound in the world for a while. Just me, echoing. I drove home. Parked. Took off my coat. Sat at the kitchen table like nothing had happened. When she walked in an hour later, she was all chirpy fatigue. God, what a day, she said, kicking off her heels. Some clients don't understand the meaning of a hard deadline. She poured a glass of wine, and I asked, just one question. Calm. Even. Do you sit on a lot of people's laps after work? The glass paused near her lips. She blinked. Excuse me. You were sitting on Richard's lap tonight. In your office. There it was, the moment. The fork in the road. She could have confessed. Lied. Cried. She could have pretended shame, or tried to explain. But no. She chuckled. Then tilted her head and said, You spying on me now? How very insecure of you. No denial. No apology. Just a smirk and a sip. I hope it was worth the trip, she added, turning away, already heading upstairs. Try not to twist this into something it's not. And just like that, something inside me shifted. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just clarity. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. She'd made her choice. And now, I was making mine. I didn't shout. I didn't plead. Instead, I started making a list. In my mind, at first. Then on paper. A clean legal pad, top drawer of my desk. Page 1, I titled it, Exit Strategy. Page 2, What She Doesn't Know. I started with the basics. Bank accounts. Deeds. Passwords. Access. Things most people forget until it's too late. I wrote down what I'd need. Where I'd go. Who I could call. And while she snored in our bed upstairs, probably dreaming of power and perfume and his Rolex-wrapped arm around her waist, I sat alone at the kitchen table, building something stronger than revenge. I was building freedom, and she never saw it coming. She didn't hear me get up that morning. She didn't hear the suitcase wheels roll across the hardwood. Didn't hear the dresser drawers opening one by one. I took only what was mine. The watch she gave me for our 10th anniversary? Left it. The leather jacket she used to love on me? Took it. Every personal file, every saved password, every birth certificate and document with my name on it, gone by 6 a.m. There was no note, no message, no post-it stuck to the bathroom mirror. That would have given her closure. This wasn't a goodbye. This was extraction. I emptied my closet, but left hers untouched. Took my books, left the ones we bought together. Photos of us, gone. Family photos with the kid? I made copies and left the originals. She could explain that however she wanted. The bank was easier than I thought. Everything joint had been quietly emptied the night before. Transferred. Secured. I'd already set up my new account months earlier, just in case. Back then, I told myself it was for rainy days. Turns out betrayal's got its own forecast. The house, once warm and cluttered with the history of two people trying, now looked like she lived there alone. No framed wedding photo by the staircase. No coat of mine hanging by the front door. Not even a mug left in the dishwasher. It was surgical. By the time the sun crested the horizon, I was already on the interstate. She texted once, "Did you take the truck?" That was it. No panic. No concern. Just irritation, like I'd borrowed a sweater without asking. I didn't respond. I never would again. I drove west first, but turned south before I hit Colorado Springs. No plan, just instinct. About 9 hours in, I found myself in a small town tucked between pine and sky. It wasn't on the tourist maps. One diner, one gas station, and a rental sign taped to the window of an old hardware shop. I asked about it. The landlord was a man named Bill. Vietnam vet, poker face, like things quiet. I paid 3 months up front in cash. Didn't blink when I used a slightly altered version of my name. Just handed me the keys and said, "Don't bring trouble." I left it behind, I told him. He nodded like he understood. The house was small, 2 bedrooms, wood paneling, a porch that creaked like it had a story of its own. It smelled like dust and old paper, and I liked that. It didn't smell like her. I unpacked in silence. No TV, no music, just the sound of my boots on bare floor. Set up my tools in the shed, found a grocery store down the road, bought a week's worth of meals that didn't need anyone's preferences taken into account. Morning routines settled in fast. Up at 6, coffee black, walked down the trail behind the house that led to nowhere. Some days I'd chop wood just to feel sore again. Other days, I sat on the porch and let my thoughts come in like weather. Cold, sharp, then gone. I wasn't at peace. Let's not dress this up. But I was clear. And that's something. I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of her. The version I'd built in my head. The woman who would never let a man like Richard sit in her heart, let alone her office chair. But that version was long dead, if she ever lived at all. She called once. I didn't answer. Texted again a week later. Where are you? Deleted it without opening. This wasn't hiding. It wasn't some broken man licking his wounds in a cabin. This was repositioning. Because you can't win a war from the battlefield. Sometimes, you retreat to the woods. You learn the terrain. And you wait. Revenge is rarely loud. It doesn't kick in the door or swing a bat. Not if you're doing it right. It walks in through the cracks. Quiet. Precise. Legal. I started with the lights. Old friend of mine, Danny, works dispatch at the utility office back home. We used to play cards every Friday until marriage and mortgages killed that tradition. Still owed me a favor from helping him fix a drainage inspection mess that almost got him written up. I called from the burner phone. Temporary disconnect for 44 Sycamore Lane, I said. Non-payment. Danny didn't ask questions. Didn't need to. He muttered something about paperwork and said it'd be off by 9 a.m. the next morning. Next up, water. Different contact. This one a woman named Rebecca, someone I'd helped get a job back in the day when she was fresh out of community college and desperate. She worked billing now. Told her the account needed review, discrepancies, maybe some identification concerns. A freeze. Nothing dramatic. Temporary administrative hold, I suggested. She clicked some keys, gave a low whistle, and said, she'll feel that. Good, I said, then hung up. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't gloating. This wasn't joy. This was calibration. Precision. A man measuring back the chaos handed to him. Next came the bank. Not hers, the shared ones she thought I'd forgotten. The ones she hadn't realized were still linked to automatic withdrawals. I revoked authorizations. Changed login credentials. Froze the cards. I wasn't stealing. Wasn't taking a dime. Just reminding her who had done the heavy lifting all those years. 2 days later, she couldn't pay her Uber ride home from work. I know because I got the automated fraud alert email she didn't realize still copied to my backup inbox. She used a different card the next day. I had that one canceled. And then came the HOA. If you've ever dealt with one, you'll know, those people care more about the height of your grass than the height of your character. I filed a formal complaint. Unbagged trash, dead plants, a lawn sprinkler left running too long. I knew every code in that neighborhood charter. I'd help write parts of it during a boring summer. The citation came in the mail on a Tuesday. $50 and a warning. The garbage pickup didn't happen that Friday either. Because it turns out if you delay payment long enough, they quietly suspend your bin. One by one, the walls of her comfort began to creak. She texted once. Is something wrong with the accounts? 2 days later, the lights are out. Are you getting these messages? Then, please. I don't know what's going on. Then finally, if this is you, I'm sorry. Please, Evan, just talk to me. I didn't respond. Because here's the truth, she wasn't sorry. Not really. Not until her comfort cracked. Not until her wine fridge went quiet, and her electric car charger blinked off, and the digital keypad on the garage reset. You see, she was never afraid to lose me. She was afraid to lose what I built around her. And I was done giving her shelter from her own storm. She called 5 times in one night. Left a voicemail that started calm and spiraled. Crying. Then anger. Then more crying. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just saved it. For later. Not for evidence. For remembrance. I wanted to remember the moment she realized the air around her wasn't breathable anymore. Not without the man she'd dismissed like a receipt at the bottom of her purse. Let her sit in the dark for a while. It's where the truth usually shows up. There's a particular silence that follows betrayal. Not the one between 2 people in the same room. No, this is wider. It's the silence that surrounds someone when the people they thought were pillars turn out to be shadows. When the audience starts to file out and the spotlight flickers. I saw it unfold, not in person, but through the digital footprints we always forget we leave behind. The Netflix account? Still logged in on my end. Her taste in shows changed. No more documentaries, no more crime dramas. Just background noise. Half-watched episodes of reality TV at odd hours of the night. The kind of stuff you play to drown out loneliness. The family calendar? Still synced. Her schedule used to be full of meetings, brunches, client dinners. Then it started thinning. One by one, the colored blocks disappeared. No more Pilates with Marcy. No more happy hour with the girls. Even the Spotify playlist changed. Our old shared ones, she stopped listening. Started creating new ones. Titles like Reset and Independence Vibes. But the songs were slow, hollow. Covers of better songs done by sad-sounding strangers. A buddy of mine, Mike, works at the bank. He gave me a heads up off the record. She's been trying to get access to the joint savings. Keeps coming in, asking questions. I nodded. She'll come up dry. She's not taking it well, he added. Neither did I said. She tried every angle. Claimed emergency access. Pretended she forgot the passphrase. Once, she even claimed she was worried I'd done something to myself. That one was creative. She texted again. I'm serious, Evan. If you don't respond, I'll call the cops. That was the moment I broke my silence. 7 words. There's no crime in leaving, Catherine. Delivered. Read. No reply. That message hit harder than anything else I could have said. Because it wasn't angry. It wasn't dramatic. It was legal. Clean. Like an empty plate after a disappointing meal. What she didn't understand was that this was never about hurting her. I wasn't breaking windows or slashing tires. I didn't post online. I didn't talk to the kids yet. I let her keep the house. Let her keep the image. But the image had holes now. Friends stopped showing up. Richard, her boss, her savior, the man whose lap she'd chosen, wasn't stepping in like she imagined. From what I heard through the grapevine, he'd cooled off quick once the shine wore off. Once she wasn't the shiny, clever star in the office. Just a woman with bills, tension, and a blinking porch light. I imagined her at home, sitting on the couch, wrapped in the sweater she used to steal from my side of the closet. Hair undone, mascara smudged, a phone in one hand, glass in the other. Watching the world turn cold. She texted again. Please. Just come back. We can fix this. I miss you. I miss us. I read it. Reread it. Felt nothing. Because there was no us left. There hadn't been for a long time. She had gambled on me vanishing in a storm. Instead, I became the weather. I didn't return out of hope. Let's make that clear. I didn't think she'd be on her knees. I didn't expect violins or tears or some movie moment with a rain-soaked apology on the porch. But after weeks of watching from the digital sidelines, after silence and slow sabotage, I needed to see it. To stand in the middle of the wreckage with my own 2 boots and know, without doubt, that what we had was finished. Call it closure. Call it curiosity. Call it reconnaissance. But don't call it forgiveness. I packed the truck with just what I came with when I left, a single duffel, a box of paperwork, and the calm you earn when you've got nothing left to lose. The highway stretched ahead, familiar and foreign all at once. I knew the exits. The turns. The billboards that hadn't changed in years. The coffee shop by the overpass still had the same sign, fresh baked. Locally owned. I'd taken her there once on a random Sunday. She said their muffins were dry. I remember pretending to laugh. By the time I turned onto our old street, the sun was low, casting long shadows across the asphalt. The kind of light that makes everything feel like a memory. There it was. 44, Sycamore Lane. Our house. But not our anymore. A strange car sat in the driveway. Not just strange, Neil. Sleek. Black paint with factory shine, dealership plates still clinging to the frame. It wasn't hers. She drove a silver crossover with a dent on the rear left panel from that grocery lot she swore wasn't her fault. The lights inside were on. Kitchen, living room. Curtains open. No shame. I parked across the street and killed the engine. Laughter floated through the window. Not hers alone. Deeper. Male. I waited a moment. Let the sound sink in. Let it tell me what I needed to know. Then I stepped out, walked up the path I'd once shoveled in February wearing nothing but boots and exhaustion. The door wasn't locked. That told me everything. Inside, the house smelled different. Not just rearranged, rebottled. Air freshener sweet, perfume thick. Not the subtle scent she used to wear. This was stronger, flashier. The kind you spray on a man's pillow to let the world know someone new sleeps there. 2 wine glasses sat on the kitchen counter, one half full, the other empty. A jacket hung over the dining chair. Not mine. A pair of polished brown leather shoes sat by the stairs. Next to them, a gym bag. Open. Used. Comfortable enough to be at home. I walked through the hallway slowly. The place looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Something had moved in. Something that thought it belonged. Her voice echoed from upstairs. Muffled, but light. Playful. And then his voice, smooth, practiced. I climbed the stairs, slow, deliberate. Each step felt heavier than the last. The bedroom door was shut, but not locked. Of course not. I stood there for a second. 1 breath. 2. Then I lifted my boot and kicked the door open. The door slammed open like a verdict. And there they were. Her. Him. Tangles of limbs and sheets and guilt. She gasped. He froze, halfway between bravado and bare skin. The silence in the room hit harder than a slap. No yelling. No accusations. Just the sound of a ceiling fan spinning above betrayal. Her mouth moved first. Evan, wait. This isn't. I held up a hand. Just one. And said, evenly. Instead of reflecting on your betrayal, you upgraded your sin. That was it. No raised voice. No name calling. No theatrics. She scrambled for the covers, clutching them like dignity could be stitched into cotton. Evan, please. I thought you weren't coming back. You disappeared. I didn't know what to do. Her boss, Richard, just sat there like a half-chewed piece of steak. No smugness now. Just pale skin and the realization that he was not in control. I didn't look at him again. I didn't look at her. I turned, walked down the hallway, down the stairs, out the door. The air hit me like a cleansing wind. No anger, no regret, just confirmation. I got in the truck, closed the door, pulled out the burner phone, dialed a number I hadn't used since I left the state. Gary picked up on the second ring. Evan? File it, I said. Today. You sure? I just walked in on a cliché, I replied. We're done. I hung up. Didn't wait for sympathy. Didn't need advice. I drove until the city shrank behind me in the rearview. Didn't stop for coffee. Didn't stop for gas. Just drove, letting the road absorb what was left of the past. By the time the sun dipped behind the horizon, I was already gone again. New state, new number, new air. She'd wake up to papers soon. Certified mail. Courier service. Whatever made it real. She'd call. She'd text. She'd beg. I wouldn't answer. Because that man who used to need explanations? He left long before I kicked that door open. All that was left now was follow-through. And silence. I didn't have to lift a finger. Funny thing about people like Richard, they rise fast, but fall even faster when the scaffolding gets pulled. And I wasn't the one doing the pulling. Whispers started at Meridian before the ink on the divorce filing dried. Someone saw the car. Someone else saw me walk in. And someone, maybe her assistant, maybe just someone fed up with watching power games over catered lunches, tipped off HR. From what I heard later, it was a compliance issue. They used the phrase inappropriate relationship affecting team dynamics. He was demoted within the week. Desk moved to a smaller office. Corner view traded for a cubicle with flickering lights. Then came the internal audit. Then the silence. By the end of the quarter, he was gone. Fired. Quietly. No farewell speech. No email blast. Just erased. Her? She stayed. For a bit. But the damage was done. You see, success has many admirers, but ruin rarely gets invited to brunch. The other women at work who used to laugh at her jokes? They stopped answering texts. The neighbors who once waved at her from their manicured lawns? Eyes down now. Mailboxes checked in silence. Even the social media posts changed. No more inspirational quotes. No carefully cropped coffee mugs and high heels on marble floors. Just long gaps between updates. Then, eventually, nothing. She sent messages. First a short one. I didn't know what I was doing. I was lost. Then a longer one. We had something real, Evan. Please let's talk. For closure. For the years we had. An email followed. A list of apologies dressed in justifications. Then a letter. Handwritten. 5 pages. Rambling, ink smudged. Words like mistake, weakness, confusion. Then, the voicemail. That one took effort to ignore. She was crying. Not the performative kind. The quiet, cracked kind. The kind that comes from sitting in a house full of echoes and wondering when you stop being worth the fight. I miss you. I miss the way you used to look at me. I miss who I was when you believed in me. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because I'd already said my part, with silence, with distance, with the kind of clean exit that only people too deeply wounded can manage. And maybe that's the difference between justice and vengeance. Justice is leaving the building when the fire alarm goes off. Vengeance is lighting the match. I hadn't burned her life down. I just removed myself from the foundation. And it turns out, without that, everything she'd built couldn't stand. That morning, the one where her latest message came in, timestamp 2:17 a.m., I stood in my new kitchen. The coffee maker hissed. Simple drip, no smart buttons or digital assistants. Just water, grounds, and time. Sunlight spilled through the curtainless window. I poured a mug, sat at the table, and smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped losing. I hadn't asked about her in months. Didn't check the feeds. Didn't monitor the login data or peek at old bookmarks. Whatever curiosity I'd once had withered somewhere between peace and disinterest. But the universe likes closure more than we do. It came in the form of an unexpected call from Luke, a friend of ours. Well, mine, now. He and I had worked together back in the early years. Cookouts, holiday parties, our kids used to share birthday weekends when they were still young enough to need streamers. He kept some distance during the fallout, smart man. But that day he called. Thought you'd want to know, he said. He didn't sound gossipy. Just tired. Catherine lost the job. I didn't speak. HR audit didn't go well. Word got out. No one wanted to work with her after everything. They cut her loose. Quiet severance. No references. Still, I said nothing. Just waited. She sold the house last month. Below market. Had to. HOA fines piled up. Back taxes, too. I guess she'd been behind for a while. My mind pictured it. The for sale sign in the yard I once trimmed every Saturday, the grass browning, the windows dark. She's in an apartment now. One of those complex units off Route 6. Second floor, no balcony. I drove by once. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Luke sighed. Because I think you deserve to know you were right. Not for revenge. Just truth. I thanked him. We didn't talk long. Just enough to confirm the last piece of the puzzle. Richard? The boss she fell on? He bailed weeks after the firing. Apparently, the pressure was too much, and the attraction wasn't built to survive fluorescent lights and real bills. Walked out mid-argument, according to what I heard. Didn't even take the wine glasses. I later learned, through a family contact, that she'd tried dating again. That one ended in a restraining order. Not from her. Against her. No charges. Just a record of escalation. Loneliness makes people desperate. But desperation without self-awareness? That's a grenade with no pin. She still tries to reach me sometimes. New emails. Random numbers. A message once left on a friend's business voicemail, like I'd somehow still be orbiting her old universe. But she's blocked now. Phone, email, socials. Even the mailbox in my rental is listed under a different name. She's reaching out to a man who doesn't exist anymore. And me? I don't hate her. That's the part no one ever believes. I don't. But I don't pity her either. She made her choices. I made mine. The only difference is, I finally got honest about who I was and what I'd allowed. You see, I didn't destroy her. I just stopped protecting her from herself. Viewers, this is the end of the story. We would be very grateful for your likes, comments, subscriptions, and sharing of our stories. See you next time.